Howdy, folks. We are live on Madison in front of one of the courthouses, and we're just watching a protest here about a judge who they've got some issues with. The signage looks to say that this judge has some problems with some bias elements. And again, it's just peaceful protest, voicing their civil rights. They're showing the signs to the cars as much as possible. So apparently it's Judge Orell. So the best I can tell is civil, so biased judgments in regards to probably marital affairs or civil dispersals of monies. Thank you so much. So it's called Windy City Thetan Watch. I actually usually protest Scientology. But since I'm on the streets, I just thought, okay, great. I also do a vlog of the city, which is Windy Wanders the City. Okay, thank you. So today, I'd come down because there's going to be a food truck festival, although festival's not right. That in the Daley Plaza, and the Daley Plaza is where the Picasso sculpture is over in the Central Business District. From now until October, on every Friday, they're going to have food trucks on the plaza. And I just thought it'd be interesting. Today's the first day that the food trucks will be down there, and they will be here every Friday from now until October. I don't have the exact dates. Again, this is the raw footage. I do the raw footage on lives, just so in case anybody has any questions or can remind me to do things that might be important. And then I'll create the curated video after we collect all of the video. We are approaching the river. We've got Canal Street, and then Canal Street is the last street on the west side of the river through the Central Business District before we go over the river. So there's the buildings, and then there's a riverside walk that allows you, on the west side, it's not quite as lengthy as it is if you were taking the east-west passage from where the rivers divert both north and south to Lake Michigan. So that east-west passage, you can get all the way down that passage on the west side. This is really only about 5 blocks that you can get across here on Riverside. So this has been down here for a while. They're doing something. They're doing something at the train station. And they've got that. They've had that street blocked off for quite some time. And then there's also some construction going on here on the Riverwalk. So it's a really tight squeeze to go on the Riverwalk right now. Coming up on, I'm going to put I have the angle down a little bit lower than I should have. So the CMA Group, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I know the IT guys over there, so it's pretty impressive how robust the infrastructure is over there. But that's basically commodities for mercantile. So cotton, silk, those types of materials, right? Which is different than the options or commodities exchange, which is more typically grains and food purpose plants rather than closed purpose. So here we're looking south down the river. It's a beautiful day here in Chicago. Filming is taking place on May 17th. It is probably 70 degrees right now. We'll get up to the high 70s sometime today. I'm not on that side, but here is looking north. You've got the Boeing building up there. So the very tall building is Boeing, but also you've got the red brick building, and just to its right, that is a cantilevered, it's the largest cantilevered building in the world, I believe. And that comes off of the Boeing building this direction. And then we've got one of the lakeside plazas here. Can't remember what the Mason building is over there. I'll look that up when we get home. Here you've got two buildings, and then in between them is a little patio with a bar. I think that you can get food. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a restaurant, but it's a place where you can have a nice quick snack and drinks on the river, and then also a full service bar here inside. In between the buildings is an outdoor bar. Now we're coming down to Wacker. If you've paid attention to some of the other videos that I've had on the channel, Wacker is rather unique. It's got an upper and lower drive, so there's a road below us that doesn't have anywhere near as many of the lights. So if you're traveling from the Eisenhower, which is the east-west tollway, you come into the city, you can go downstairs really quick and get all the way to the lake where the river hits the lake. And this follows the contour of the lake. So Wacker also is unique because it is north-south right here, but up there where it hits that large building, it'll turn to the right and follow the river. So it'll go east-west. This building has the naming rights of Deloitte. Deloitte just has a high presence in this building. Deloitte is one of the, it used to be the big six, right? You had the big six accounting firms, and then Arthur Andersen ran into a little bit of trouble with their Enron elements. And I think it's collapsed down to there's 4 at this point in time, and they've also moved away from being the big six accounting firms to business management consulting firms. So Deloitte, McKinsey, Ernst & Young, which I think they've rebranded themselves to EY. I think I already said McKinsey. Now the next street that we'll pass as we travel east is Franklin. Franklin is an interesting street. It's special to me. I used to live down in this neighborhood, and if you run down Franklin southbound, you have a beautiful view of a bridge that's very important to me. I don't have it zoomed out, but you can see there's a bridge at the end of this street that's over the river. It's in a vertical position. That bridge, it's a single-leaf bascule bridge, and it is the largest single-leaf bascule bridge that has ever been moved. And my great-grandfather is the one who orchestrated and conducted that move. He did several other things that were rather amazing. When he passed away, he had 3 world records in architecture. That being one, right, that he moved the largest single-leaf expansion bridge. He also moved a 14-story building. It used to be called the Dowry Building. Right now, there is a massive residential apartment complex there, the Nemo. It is at the south end of Grant Park, at the corner of Roosevelt being 12th Street. It is on the southeast corner. There used to be a 14-story building there called the Dowry Building. And he moved that building several blocks without disturbing the electricity or the plumbing. And he did it by horse, which is just an amazing feat, right? The idea that they understood the physics and curvature of rolling devices, that they would put basically telephone poles, or right, well machined wooden poles, and they jacked the building up. They set the building down on these wooden dowels, and then they had horses pull the building across these wooden dowels, and you had to place the wooden dowels in precise spaces so that you could get around corners and things of that nature. Here we're coming up to the Northern Trust building. Northern Trust has a big presence in Chicago. It's a retail but also a commercial bank, it does an awful lot of big business trades. So I'm pretty sure that they have an investment bank as well. They, a few years ago, bought the old CNA building, which is the red metallic building on Wacker Drive, just behind Grant Park. It's a very tall building, so most of it has a great view of the Grant Park and Lake Michigan. And here again, we can see the older part of the Northern Trust Company. The old masonry building here. We're coming up on LaSalle Street. LaSalle Street is a street it's very iconic. If you come to Chicago, you're probably going to take a picture here. You'll see here on Saturdays, plenty of people in their wedding clothes. So the bride and groom will take this picture. If we look south, you're looking at the Options, Chicago Board of Trade down there. And on top of that is Athena, the goddess of grains. You'll see this in the Batman movies. Batman is often filmed here, and a lot of it has to do with the underground streets that exist in Chicago. So it can make a very dramatic presence when you're driving the Batmobile around and you need to look like you're coming out of caves and such. Be a little bit better shot down there. It's a bit foggy out today. So, and we just passed a walking tour of the city. As I've often shown you, Chicago has an awful lot of public art. This happens just to be a fountain with a rather interesting shape. Definitely the fountain's not on right now. Let's see if I can do my Roman numerals real quickly. So this building was erected AD 1519 in 1910, right? So 1,500 for 100s and a 10. Harris Bank, right? So you remember, right? Harris used to have the Harris Lion. Harris was purchased by BMO. I'm pretty sure BMO is a Canadian company, but they still have an incredibly large presence here in the States. And you can see that the BMO building next to us as well. Yeah, so here we're seeing, right, it was organized as N.W. Harrison Company in 1882, incorporated in 1907. And again, another relief showing that the building was erected in 1910. Okay, as we get to Clark here, I'm going to turn north so that we can head over to Daley Plaza. But as we see in front of me, there's Tacos Delicia, which is another food truck. So food trucks are fairly prevalent in the city. For the most part, want to stop here for a second. Yeah, I'll go one block further, or I'll cross the street, then head up the other side. that food trucks are a really economical way to start a restaurant career, right? You don't have to worry about the cost of the brick and mortar. You can invest just in the truck, which is much more cost effective, and it's very boho hip, right? It's amazing the flavors and tastes you get out of some of these food trucks as well. And now we'll go through a glass wall. This McDonald's is interesting, right? Because it's got the entire glass surface here. As we're moving forward, this is the Chase building that we're underneath right now. The Chase building is about 57 stories tall, or the Chase Tower. The big tenants here, right, are Chase, naturally, JP Morgan, which is an arm of Chase, and then Exelon. And Exelon is the parent company of many of the power companies around the United States. So Exelon is the parent of Commonwealth Edison, and Commonwealth Edison serves most of Illinois and northern Indiana, or northwest Indiana. But they also have power companies out in Philadelphia, Baltimore, DC area. They recently did a little bit of a split where ComEd has the power companies and the nuclear companies, and they divided those out so that one company maintained the power distribution and the electricity, and the other one was the electricity creation through nuclear power. As we continue to push forward, we're going to kind of come into the city and county buildings. A very large building that's very well lit up by the sun right now. That is the Cook County building. And to its, on our side of the street, you would have the city hall. Most of Cook County is Chicago, but there are some collar cities that aren't part of Chicago but are part of Cook County. Schaumburg, River Grove, Park Ridge, Oak Park, several of those outer elements. The county runs the public spaces through the forest preserves, and then the city runs the public spaces through the Chicago Park District. The lakefront path is Chicago Park District, and then you've got some forested areas that are naturally fall under the regime of the forest preserve. Kind of like that shot there. So you've got the Picasso there, but you can also see that the food trucks are lined up. I think the food trucks start their service at 11 o'clock. It's from 11 to 3 on every Friday from now, May 17th, through October. So most of these trucks are running. There might be a little bit of noise. I think the mic will be able to isolate us pretty well. But let's do a little lap of the area and look at what's on offer today. What I don't know if it's the same trucks every single week or if they go through a rotation. So this first truck is Soul and Smoke. Nice, I've got a little TV screen up there. show you what their menu is. Like that. Soul and Smoke. And we've got the Cajun Connoisseur with their menu here as well. And we'll cross the plaza. Just behind this food truck is the Picasso. Harold's Chicken. Now this one is a food truck that's related to a brick and mortar. So Harold's Chicken has any number of spots all over the city. They have quite a presence here. They're usually small, maybe 4 to 6 tables inside. But for the most part, here we see another tour going through. For the most part, they're takeaway food. And now we'll run down to, this is kind of nice, you're seeing Channel 2's TV, so they're right across the street here. Oh, just a moment ago, we were talking about Exelon being in the tower, the Chase Tower. That building right there it's a retro design building, and that building houses a lot of transformers. So in the city center, there's 4 of these buildings, and they're owned by ComEd, and that's kind of how they hide the, it's how the sausage is made. So inside of that building are going to be all the transformers, which step down the high electrical current that comes out from the generation plants down to the voltage that's needed for retail businesses and commercial businesses. We'll continue our food truck tour. Here we've got Tasty Chicago. Hot dogs, hamburgers, buffalo chicken, fries. So they probably got a fryer inside there. Our next one is Sabor Caceres, churros, and oh, the birria looks awesome. And their menu. Next is queso birria. And again, I love the moles, the Mexican flavors. It's like when you eat Asian soup, how deep the flavor is in that. And the Mexican moles and the birria, just amazing. Elotes, empanadas. Look at their menu real quick. The Route 66 Diner. Not sure if we can see their menu very well. And we're going to end up with the Fat Shallot. I've seen this one quite a few times. I think it gets very good reviews. I've never had their food before, but here we have the Fat Shallot. Turkey, grilled cheese, buffalo chicken, and then fries. So there you have it. Little fountain outside in the plaza here. This is the Daily Plaza. And we'll look back into the city. Hopefully you're seeing a lot of depth here, right? So right now we're seeing 5 blocks worth of buildings here. The tall one that is white masonry, that used to be the tallest building in the world. It was the Standard Oil building at that point in time. Now it's the Aon Center. The one next to it with the spire on top is the Prudential Center. And the one that you can just see the backside of the triangle, that's the Stone Container Building, and that's at the northwest end of Grant Park. If you're ever coming up Michigan Avenue, it's very visible and noticeable. Or if you're on Lakeshore Drive, coming north, you'll see that quite a bit as well. From the front, that top area looks like a diamond. So a lot of people would call it the Diamond Building, but it's the Stone Container Building. And then in front of that, you'll see the top of Macy's or Marshall Fields. And then Block 37 is our next building back here. It's about 10:40, so I think I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the other channel and head down to the Scientology organization. See if I can make sure and get those blinds closed. So, thank you all. That was the Chicago Food Truck Fest. Chicago Food Truck Fest. Thank you all. That was the Chicago Food Truck Fest.